Evet, bugün yanında iki konuk var. Biri David Tweed, ekonomi editörü, diğeri de Manus Cranny, her zaman olduğu gibi. Şimdi öncelikle İspanya'nın kredi notuyla başlamak istiyoruz. Çünkü bütün hisse senedi piyasalarını etkiledi. Hemen kendisine dönmek istiyorum. Hi David, welcome to show.
Hello.
How are you today?
Very well.
Let's begin with Spain because it's top news today, isn't it?
It is like the top story in the world
Yeah.
on Bloomberg at the moment. What has happened in Spain? They've had the credit rating downgraded by Moody's. Now, Moody's is very concerned about something which is happening today in Spain. They're concerned, well, it's three things, but the main concern is how much is it going to cost Spain to recapitalize its banks, particularly the savings banks. You've probably heard us talking about the cajas. These are the very important cajas. Now, the Bank of Spain today is probably going to come out and say that those cajas need around about 20 billion euros in order to recapitalize, because they've had a lot of property losses after that big property boom in Spain. What the concern is at Moody's is that that number actually, when it eventually comes to the, when everything eventually comes out in the wash, it could be double that number. And if it is, that's a problem for the Spanish government, because it will increase Spain's debt to GDP ratio. But I would like to just add, though, that even though there has been a downgrade, Moody's has downgraded from second highest credit rating to third highest credit rating. So I think that that's worth taking into mind. But what interests me, though, is to wonder how the markets reacted to this, how the Spanish market reacted to this.
Well, the Spanish bond market, government bond borrowing levels went up. They spiked higher in the very first instance, that very initial sort of, oh my gosh, a downgrade. But as you and I have been looking at this through the morning, it was almost a metaphorical or a moment sort of slap on the wrist for Spain. And I think the other thing for Moody's is that they said the debt sustainability for Spain is not under threat. So we saw yields rise in the very first instance, but they've tapered off since then. So we've come back about 0.5%.
Debt sustainability not being a concern, also the fact that Moody's doesn't think that Spain is going to have to go to the EU in search of a bailout. I think this is also a very key message here. So,
Just like what Portugal thinks.
well, no, Portugal is in a very different situation. Portugal may have to go because the cost of Portugal's borrowing has been rising a lot. So there's quite a lot of speculation that Portugal may actually have to actually get some sort of bailout.
How about Bank of England? Because we are just half an hour from now, we will possibly they're not going to change the rates, but what are the expectations?
Well, there's a very interesting thing going on at the Bank of England at the moment, because there are four different views on what might happen. Now, there are some who are arguing for a 50 basis point increase because they're very worried about inflation. A couple of them are worried about are looking for a 25 basis point increase. The majority looking for no change, and even one of them is concerned about UK economic growth, wants to see more stimulus. So there's a lot of different views here going on. And then the background to all of this is what's going on in other big economies. The ECB has indicated that it's very worried about inflation and may even raise rates as soon as next month, whereas the Fed, inflation over there, isn't even near its long-term target around about 2%. They'll probably keep rates low for a while.
I see. So how about just one corporate story? Let's have a quick look at the BMW.
Let's go for a bit of luxury. Let's go for a bit of luxury.
What's happening at BMW?
Well, BMW, they've got Rolls-Royce, they've got Mini Clubman, and they've got, of course, in the middle there, and they've got BMW. And it's the BMW 5 Series. Great set in terms of earnings. The stock and full-year net income came in at 3.23 billion euros, way ahead of the analyst estimates. They said, listen, we're going to sell more cars this year than we did last year. We're well on our way to our 2020 target of almost 2 million cars per year. So they used wonderful words that investors like: record results and a dividend. A dividend 1.3 euros. That's ahead of the estimates. And the stock did spike higher. It's a bit like everything this morning. Spiked higher, up about 2.3%. And it gave up the ghost as people realised the cost of insuring, the cost of running, the cost of buying, and the cost of gas, or diesel for that matter.
Yeah, the outlook's not so great.
It's not exactly optimistic, is it?
Okay, thank you very much guys for joining us. David Tweed ve Manus Cranny bizlerle birlikteydi. Şimdi söz tekrar İstanbul'da, stüdyoda.